over 3 decades, George Walther has been delighting audiences worldwide with his hard-hitting business strategies, offbeat humor, and moving real-life global adventure stories. His wisdom challenges them to think differently and to be innovative through difficult times. Please welcome the traveling twain of the 21st century, George Walther.
You notice that alarms always come off at exactly the wrong time. You might need them, but you don't really want them. Now, I'm not talking about the alarm that went off for you this morning after your celebrations last night. I heard you outside my hotel room. I mean really loud alarms. Perhaps you lose a very big account, or you tune in to CNBC and see what's happening to your retirement funds. When was your last really big wake-up call? A really loud one? Right now, some of you in this room have great ideas that could help your companies in these tough times, that could help yourself advance, but you kind of squelch, you kind of hold back.
The common trait among all people who I find to be successful in business is that they communicate superbly. They get their message out. They don't hold back.
Anybody here ever play with Google Earth? Anybody have a Gmail account? You look at Google News? All are the direct result of what Google calls Google Labs. When people just said, hey, we could do something completely different. And I said, well, Richard, how do you do it? I mean, it seems like everything you get involved with, you're always shaking it up and not doing things the conventional way. How do you do it? And he said, every time one of my people comes to me with a wild, wacky idea that just might be profitable, I say the same 5 words. Screw it. Let's do it.
Google, for example, actively fosters the notion that working for us is not like working for anybody else. Setting out to be different is what gives employees that feeling of wanting to belong to a different culture.
And you know, as I look back now, every success I've ever personally encountered in business and in life has always resulted from being willing to shake things up, to have a different outlook.
When you seek adventuresome thinking, you keep yourself fresh, you bring into work that spirit of excitement that spreads to those around you, that cultivates a culture within your organization, that you're open-minded, that you do things differently.
In case you haven't noticed, George is not your average business speaker. He's zany, entertaining, and oh so funny.
I was the kid who ran the audio-visual equipment.
When I put my message out with passion, they looked and I could see him going, he seems confident. Hey. A speaker was born. And I saw Karen Burkhardt out on the dance floor winking at me. Next year in high school, I realized that Karen had a weird tick in her eye.
Oh, and one other thing, George. We'd want you to go to all the sororities and interview the girls who'd like to be stewardesses. Oh, I think I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. I'm a pilot, and my loud wake-up call happened in the cockpit of a small plane. I had donated a sightseeing flight to a charity auction, and the winning bidder was an attorney named Pete, and what he wanted to do with his prize is have me fly him there so he could propose to her, as he put it, in an unforgettable way.
Flaps 10 degrees, check. Fuel mixture rich, check. Radio frequency set, check. And then something happened that wasn't on my checklist. I heard a voice. I heard this voice saying, don't land there. Change airports. Something's not right. And then I heard a second voice. What are you, insecure? You've landed here before. They're going to think you're scared. Land the plane. I didn't know what to do. And even for a minute, I considered changing, diverting to a different field. I thought, well, how would I do this? Pete, I know you want to land at Roche Harbor. The plane is fine, the weather's great, I feel wonderful. I want to let you know I am hearing voices in my head.
and suddenly the plane crashed down onto the ground. I'm struggling to keep the plane lined up. If I can just keep the plane straight, we'll make it, we'll make it. And just as we got to the threshold of the runway, I saw the ditch. And the landing gear dropped down and the ditch sheared off the bottom of the plane, and we slid down the runway, and the 55 gallons of fuel I had just tanked up with spilled out on that gravel airstrip. And when we came to a rest, I just thought, fire! I ran from the plane. Pete followed the exact safety instructions I had given him and pulled Gene out of the plane. We ran from the plane, stood back, and watched it burn, grateful that we had survived this wake-up call. And then I thought, oh gosh, I've survived the crash, but now the real hell begins for me. This guy's an attorney. He's going to sue my butt for sure. But he better not go for misrepresentation, because I am safe there. He wanted an unforgettable proposal. Nah, Pete didn't sue me. In fact, I was invited to the wedding. We became great friends. And here is the first picture in their wedding album. That's the Cessna 182 that I was piloting that day. That was my really loud wake-up call. The kind of thing that makes you take stock in your life, kind of do a quick review of what's happened up until this point and say, what lessons can I draw from that? Because I get a do-over, I get a second chance. How can I use what I've learned thus far going forward?
Some of you have had wake-up calls too. Some of you have friends right now who may have had a cancer diagnosis. Something's gone terribly wrong, a heart attack. Don't wait for a wake-up call to pay attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, life is far too short to hold back, to squelch yourself. Life is far too short to be conventional, to do things the way everybody else does them. To not be willing to break the mold and do things in an unusual way. And life is certainly far too short to take our relationships in our personal lives as well as in our business lives for granted. You know, right now, people seem so discouraged about our economy. But you notice that everything I've been sharing with you now costs nothing. Don't buy into this prevailing feeling that, oh gosh, things are awful, our country is in bad shape, my business is going to fall apart. No, it's not. What are you waiting for? Yes, there's a change in the market. You can change the market. Those who can't tame that change, they're gone. They're out of the business. The dabblers are gone. You're the professionals who can tame this change and use it to your advantage and to your clients. What do you need? A wake-up call? Thank you very much.
George Walther is truly speaking from experience, performing for over 30 years as a professional speaker and author whose profit-boosting business seminars and keynote presentations have been sought by such companies as Starbucks, Microsoft, GE, Mobil Oil, HP, AT&T, and many more. George is a certified speaking professional with the National Speakers Association and since 1989 an honoree in their prestigious Speakers Hall of Fame. He is also the author of numerous business books and audio-video programs published worldwide in multiple languages featuring sales, service, and communication topics. Whether presenting at a convention, sales conference, or an associational gathering, George combines his life experience as a full-time single parent and glowing newlywed with his compelling tales from his adventures in 99 countries to deliver potent, practical lessons for both business and life.